With the midterm elections coming up so very soon, well, the topic of both election integrity as well as who gets to vote in America's elections, well, they're at the forefront of people's minds. And so today, let's talk about exactly those topics, starting over in the state of Colorado, where just a week and a half ago, the Secretary of State's office mailed postcards to roughly 30,000 non-citizens with instructions on how to register to vote. Let me just repeat that. The Colorado Secretary of State, Ms. Jenna Griswold, who, by the way, is up for election this year, she sent out mailers to the 30,000 non-citizens living in the state with instructions on how they can register to vote. As you can see up on your screen, the postcards were double-sided, with the front saying in big letters, "Make sure your voice is heard this November. Register to vote today at the government website down below." And then on the back, in both English and Spanish, it said this in part, quote, "Our records indicate that you or your household may be eligible to vote, but do not appear to be registered at your current address." And then below that, despite these mailers again going to non-citizens, it does include citizenship as a prerequisite to voting. Now, when these mailers came to light, meaning when their existence became public knowledge, the Secretary of State's office came out and they issued an official statement saying that mailing them out was actually a mistake. Here's specifically what part of what a spokesperson for the Secretary of State's office said as a part of their response statement. Quote, "The department has become aware that approximately 30,000 EBU, which stands for eligible but unregistered postcard mailers, were incorrectly sent to ineligible Coloradans. The office is undertaking an internal review of the incident and will take any corrective action that is warranted." Now, in terms of why this supposed mistake actually took place, well, the Secretary of State's office said that the problem has to do with the fact that Colorado is required to send out postcards to eligible but not registered voters as a part of their membership in a multi-state organization called ERIC, which is an acronym standing for the Electronic Registration Information Center. Colorado belongs to this group, and so they have to send these mailers to potential voters. However, according to their official statement, the problem occurred when they were comparing their local state's DMV records with a list of potential unregistered voters that came to them from this ERIC organization. Because you see, in the state of Colorado, they allow people to hold non-citizen driver's licenses. This was done a few years ago to allow people without legal residency status to still be able to drive legally within the state. However, regardless of this having happened, the Secretary of State's office further attempted to reassure the public that if these individuals attempted to register to vote, well, the system would just reject them. Here's what their statement said in relevant part. Quote, "The department will also compare the list of approximately 30,000 individuals who incorrectly received the EBU mailer postcard to the statewide voter list on a daily basis to ensure that none of those individuals register." And thus far, with their diligent surveillance efforts, they claim that none of the 30,000 individuals have registered, at least as of today. If you'd like to read the statement from the Secretary of State's office for yourself, I'll throw a link to it down into the description box below. However, since we're on the general topic of non-citizens voting in America, well, let's head on over to Washington, D.C., where in a shocking development, the D.C. City Council passed a bill just last week which will allow non-citizens, including undocumented immigrants who are in the country illegally, to vote in the district election. Let me just repeat that. This new law will expand who's allowed to vote in local elections in D.C. to include not only U.S. citizens, not only green card holders, but it would even allow people who are in this country illegally to vote in the local elections. Not the federal elections, mind you, but in the district elections for positions like mayor, council member, attorney general, school board members, as well as any initiative, referendum, or recall election that might happen to come up. Specifically, this bill, which is officially called the Local Resident Voting Rights Act of 2021, it would extend the right to vote to anyone, regardless of their citizenship status or even their legal status, as long as they are at least 18 years old and have lived in Washington, D.C. for at least 30 days. Here's very simply how the bill starts at the very top, and it gives its stated purpose. Quote, "To amend the District of Columbia Election Code of 1955 to expand the definition of the term qualified elector to include permanent residents for the purpose of local elections." And indeed, this bill passed with 12 members of the council voting in favor and only one person voting against it. But the one councilwoman who voted against this bill, Ms. Mary Che, well, she did not vote for it for the reasons that you might assume. Instead, her only concern regarding this bill is the 30-day residency requirement was too flimsy. Here's specifically what she said, quote, "My concern is about a complete stranger to our community, to our nation, who can vote in D.C.'s election. This seems entirely too flimsy." Meaning that the one council member in Washington, D.C. who voted against this bill voted against it not because of the illegal alien component of it, but rather because of the short time frame that someone has to be a resident in the district before they can vote. But even for that relatively mild criticism, the other members of the council, they responded by dismissing the concern. Here's, for instance, what Charles Allen, one of the other Washington, D.C. council members who actually co-sponsored the bill, here's what he said as a response to that criticism. Quote, "Strangers from all over our country are welcome here, and strangers from all over the country can move here and vote here." And so, with that, the bill is now on the desk of Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser, and if she signs it into law, well, starting in 2024, non-citizens, as well as illegal aliens who have no legal status, they can both begin to vote in the local elections of our nation's capital. However, even if the mayor decides to veto the bill, it will be sent back to the council, where they obviously have enough votes to override the veto, meaning that barring any unforeseen circumstances, in the year 2024, the people who crossed the U.S.-Mexico border and then were sent by bus to Washington, D.C. by the Texas governor, well, they will be allowed to vote. That is quite amazing. However, you might naturally be asking yourself right now, isn't this outright illegal? How could this possibly be happening? And the answer is not as clear-cut as it may seem. Because you see, back in the year 1996, the U.S. Congress did pass a federal law which prohibits non-citizens from voting in federal elections, such as the elections for the House, the Senate, and the presidency. However, that federal law did not address state or local elections. And so here's where things get a little bit interesting, because as of this moment, only the state constitutions of Arizona, Alabama, Colorado, Florida, and North Dakota explicitly prohibit non-citizens from voting in their states, leaving a lot of wiggle room for different municipalities to enact different types of laws. And since very technically Washington, D.C. is a disenfranchised non-state, if you ever see their license plate, it says taxation without representation, well, they don't have a state constitution, and they are choosing to go this route, which actually seems to be the direction that more and more progressive areas seem to be moving towards. That's because, with the passage of this bill, Washington, D.C. joins 15 other municipalities across America that allow non-citizens to vote in local elections. For your reference, those municipalities include 2 in Vermont, 15 municipalities in Maryland, as well as New York City, which is currently facing a lawsuit over their voting laws, as well as San Francisco, which currently allows non-citizens to vote in their school board elections. Regardless, if you would like to read more about what's happening in Washington, D.C. or those other municipalities, I'll throw my research notes down into the description box below so you can peruse them at your own leisure. Furthermore, I'd love to know your thoughts on the matter. Do you agree with illegal aliens being allowed to vote in our Washington, D.C. local elections? And do you think they should be allowed to vote at all in local elections throughout the entire country? Do you think that's something that should be allowed, or should there be a federal law which prohibits local municipalities from enacting these types of regulations? But would that even be possible, because elections are typically handled by the local municipalities themselves? That's kind of the beauty of the federalist system. So would that even work? I'd actually love to know your thoughts on the matter. Please leave your comments in the comment section below. I'll be reading them later tonight, as well as tomorrow and in the coming days, because the videos obviously get viewed well into the week. And then lastly, I would like to show you this beautiful coin. This right here is an American Walking Liberty 1-ounce gold coin. And typically, I order at least one of these from our sponsor, American Hartford Gold, every single month. The reason I do so is because, as you likely know, the inflation rate in this country is the highest that has been in, the last 40 years now. Everything, like the price of food, the price of housing, the price of gas, is absolutely going through the roof. And in fact, market experts, like the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, he's not only predicting a recession, but he's even using words like unprecedented economic hurricane. And so listen, I absolutely do not give you any financial advice, but I would recommend that you do what I do, which is pick up the phone and call American Hartford Gold. Their super friendly staff can help you diversify your portfolio by either getting physical gold and physical silver delivered directly to your doorstep like I do, or deposited directly into your IRA and your 401k accounts. They make the entire process super simple. And actually, besides me, they have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, with quite literally thousands of satisfied clients around the country. And best of all, to our viewers, to the viewers of Facts Matter, they are currently throwing in $2,500 worth of free silver on your first qualifying order. So giving them a call is an absolute no-brainer. So pick up the phone and call 866-242-2352. That's 866-242-2352. Or text Roman to 65532. Their link will also be down in the description box below. And then let's head on back to the studio. And then lastly, I would like to also mention that if you're watching this video, it does not matter whether you are a U.S. citizen, an illegal alien, or you happen to be from another country. It doesn't matter, because we are holding an election right here. And you can vote with your finger by smashing that like button, so this video can be shared out to more people. And also, in this particular election, you can actually vote twice, because you can also smash that subscribe button and get our videos injected directly into your YouTube feed every time we publish them. And then until next time, I'm your host, Roman from the Epoch Times. Stay informed, and most importantly, stay free.